Again, very proud of our team. Great game with Boston College on Saturday afternoon and early Saturday evening. Kind of a pro-type game. Very limited possessions. Both teams kept the ball. One of the few games I've ever been in where in the first and fourth quarters each team only had one possession. So you had to make them count. You had to be very efficient. I thought offensively we were extremely efficient on the day. Had a couple key drops I thought could have really helped us, but, that's part of the game. And doing that, but I thought we moved the ball extremely well. Thought we ran it, had kept good balance. I thought we really moved it when we had to. The last drive, I was very proud of the guys' execution, the run-pass game, and also managing the clock and getting the ball right where we need to get it to and getting the kick. Defensively, did a nice job in the game, gave up some plays, but at the same time, Ben didn't break all their trick plays, all the gadgets, the big shots, which you have to take to change the field position. They always hear me talk about big plays. We were able to defend those. They ran the ball effective, but they were very patient. They did a good job being 3 yards, 4 yards, staying patient like that, and got the edges a couple times, but our defense did a nice job when they had to do it. And special teams, thought we had a nice night, had one missed field goal, which we wouldn't have, but other than that, thought we covered kicks very well. Thought Casey punted the ball extremely well in that night. And for a very rainy night, thought we took care of the ball very well. Had the one turnover. Tough play the way it went, but took care of the ball extremely well for very wet conditions too, and caught the ball extremely well, except for the 3 or 4 drops, which were critical. But again, with limited possessions and a couple penalties here and there, those get magnified because you don't have the ball much. But that's the way those games go. You got to learn to manage those games and win them. And did a great job. Steve did a great job with that team. They're a good football team. They were top 15 defense in the country coming in. Played some really good teams. Bowl eligible. They'll end up going to a very good bowl game and doing well. So saying all that, that was behind us. Our ACC regular season is over with. Now we have to play our biggest rival as far as Florida and playing these guys. They got a very good team, very dynamic on defense. A lot of very good players, Fowler and Taylor and Darius Cummings and Hargraves. They got tons of good players on defense. Very good, very multiple in their fronts. Good at all 3 levels up front, mid to second level and third level defenders. Offensively, very good running backs. Offensive line is big. Robinson's a very good playmaker outside. Treon Harris brings a really nice dimension to them as run and pass. Really emerging as a heck of a player. Of course, tight end's a good athlete. And special teams, they can run. They're a typical Fuller team. They'll have a lot of guys drafted, I figure, and a lot of guys in the future off that team be drafted. So should be a great ball game. We need to play well. Need to prepare well during the week and get ready for their best shot. And we'll have to hopefully give our best shot. So, questions?
I know this is maybe an obvious question, but
none of them are obvious.
Will's kids responded pretty well to the last home game that they're going to be with him on Saturday, carried them on the field and everything. Obviously, you would expect that same kind of emotional response from them to be in the field for his last game. And how much does emotion like that really count in a rivalry game like this?
I think emotion always counts, but I think at the end of the day, execution wins. And I think emotion is going to be critical. Hopefully, we'll be emotional. To play Florida, our kids will be high. Our kids will be excited. So I think you'll see 2 teams that are emotionally and physically ready to play, and then who can go out and execute and win the battles of the physical, mental execution will be the team that wins.
And I know that a lot of people said during this process, especially in the last couple of weeks, he's been praised a number of times for his grace and professionalism about this. And again, that's something you probably expected no less out of Will.
No, Will's a superhuman being. That's why he's a friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. You wouldn't expect anything else. Will's a great competitor, a great coach. He'll have a tremendous future in this business and continue to have a future in this business. And that does not surprise me one iota. I would expect nothing but that from Will. No, we haven't. Not him. We'll probably speak after the game, just say things. It's tough when you're a competitor. But I've reached out to mutual friends and let them know that, thoughts and prayers and everything like that.
Jimbo, did you learn anything more about your team with BC in that fourth quarter? Because that fourth quarter seemed a little different than some of the other ones where you guys came back this time. It was BC coming back when they had that long drive.
Yeah, well, I think we made the stops and we had to make it. I think defensively, in a couple of those games, now you go back to Notre Dame game and that game, it's defensively got stops, and then, of course, we had a big drive on offense. But I think our team, again, can stay in the moment, keep playing, and doesn't worry about scenarios or situations, just plays the next play and stays poised in those moments. That was a different type of one, but still very similar.
What was going through your mind that BC was driving that 8 or 9 minute drive?
I'm just hope to hold them to a field goal so we can come back and either kick a field goal and tie it, or once they got into the red zone, so we can get it and we'll score a touchdown. Or do we have to score a touchdown or a field goal and worry about field position and plays? You're thinking about how to go have success in the game. You don't sit and worry about problems. You solve problems. problems are solved by moving the ball and scoring points on your side.
You take into account some of the drop passes.
No, I don't think he had one in that game at all that I can remember.
Is that him doing better health-wise, or the offensive line kind of coming around to?
A little bit of everything. I mean, and receivers getting to where they're supposed to be, running routes on the right time, getting extra protection, him seeing the field at times, and staying in the moment and keep making consistent plays. I mean, it's just an accumulation of things, you know what I mean? And just, and that's why sports, I mean, you don't always have your AA game every time you play. But, he's always.
Jimbo, how good is Rivalry? Is he the best you guys have gone up against?
Yeah, he'd be one of them. There's a couple other guys we faced that were really good, but it would be nobody passing him, I'll say that. They've got a couple guys in secondary, 2 or 3, guys that can really cover and play.
When they go up against a really good receiver, do they blanket, they put Hargraves up in the hole?
He does a lot of times. I've seen him do that at times. They'll move him around. I'm sure they will at times. And now, do they go sometimes they'll go the slot, sometimes they don't, because then you get into a lot of different calls. But you can go in the slot in and out. They can or they won't. I don't know what they'll do. I'm not sure, but they have. I've seen them do that.
So you expect that could be a possibility for Sean?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of plan on that every week with guys. We really do with him.
So do you think this game against Boston College could prepare you for Ford more? Because I'm guessing they're going to try to do ball control against you guys and follow similar patterns.
Well, I think if that's what they do and their strength is, yeah. The scenarios come out, but you just know that you have to be patient on both sides and you have to take advantage of your opportunities.
Is Sean feeling fine with his arm any lingering effects?
No, not at all. I was when they come back in for treatment yesterday, and that's why I thought it'd be sore. No, they say everything's good. Very happy with that.
Featherston, is he okay?
He'll still be out today, but I think looking a lot better. Looking a lot better.
Jimbo, you have a chance to go undefeated, at least in the regular season, for a second straight year. What is that? What comes to your mind if it's huge for you?
Nothing. If we do that, if we
Go undefeated now, then like.
we're doing it, you know what I mean? But, and you have to have a little bit of everything. You have to be good, you got to be lucky, things got to bounce right, you got to make plays at the right time, you got to have the right dynamic on the team, you got to have, there's so many things. So, but that's, it's funny when you're doing it, you don't even think about it. That's not the concern. The concern is the next game and how you prepare.
You don't look way down, you try to keep in the moment.
I'm trying to look, I'm thinking what I got to do after I get out of here in about 5 minutes.
Do you talk to the team about, hey, this is one of our goals, this is one of the lights at the end of the tunnel that we've talked about?
What's that?
Just this, getting to the end of the regular season and having this opportunity for
and also playing against your rivals and trying to win the games in your state and all those things. Those are goals in which we have. We always talk about, we knock, hey, thank you, that was a goal we had, now we got to take the next step. It's like climbing a mountain. You got to keep taking one step at a time.
Is undefeated ever a goal, or is it like ACT championship or what?
Well, no, we don't ever say undefeated. We don't ever say undefeated. The ultimate goal is national championship. That's always our goal here. And we build them down. We layer them down after that.
Does it make you nervous at all knowing that the sports team basically has nothing to lose and knowing that they have a couple of trick plays that they've been running?
Yeah. Yeah, you get that from everybody every week. You can't worry about things you can't control. What we can control is how we play, and that's all we got to worry about. That's all we can worry about.
Jimbo, do your defensive coaches have any kind of an edge in having played against Kurt Roper recently, or has he made enough changes there that.
Kurt's a heck of a coach now. He's very bright. I mean, there's a lot of things they do differently, but it's like all coaches. You still do things that you've done in the past. I do them. Will does them on defense. I mean, we all have the things that got us to where we've gotten to that we believe in, and there's going to be things. But he's obviously changed some things, and his personnel will change it too.
Did it motivate the team? This was the last loss against the Flood, David.
No, we don't think about that. They don't ever go in negativity. And I know people. It makes a great story, but I've never thought that way, and I think it's bad to think that way. I think it gets you in a bad frame of mind. That team there, that was 2 years ago. That was 2 teams ago. These guys are totally different. It's a different group of people.
Jimbo, what do you think this team is played so much better with Treon once they need to switch your quarterback?
Well, I think also they got their backs healthy. And I think they've been able to run the football. They've been content that way. He brings a dimension in the run game. You know what I mean? And I think, again, they just haven't turned it over. I think turnovers at times for them in the past had been critical for them. I don't think they've turned the ball over. Treon can throw the football now. He can throw the football. Remember, we recruited him. I thought he was pretty good now. He's real good.
Does that help when he's committed here and you've been committed for so long? You maybe know his strengths and weaknesses?
No, I mean, you know a guy's talent. You don't know. Till you coach a guy, you really don't know his strengths and weaknesses till you get to coach him. I mean, you know his talent level. And you know one thing, you want him on your team, so he must have been pretty good.
On a personal level, what do you think of anything you've been during the whole process? On a personal level, what do you think about Treon as a person?
Oh, I think he's a tremendous person. I enjoyed recruiting him, getting to know him. Thought he had a great family, and always very personable, nice guy, bright guy, sharp guy, very conversational. You know, he's fun to be around. I enjoyed being around him.
Jimbo, do coaches' sons have, especially when they're quarterbacks, have something they bring to the table automatically?
Yeah, they're all nuts. They act like coaches. I listened to mine at 13.
Just being exposed to.
You do. There's so many little things that you don't realize they just absorb. You know what I mean? From situations, hearing you say it, or being around it, hearing players say things, watching it. Just the knowledge of the game of football that can only be gotten from being a gym rat, for lack of a better word. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it just absorbs in you. It's like if your kids followed you around little things about writing stories or getting information or reporting information. If they were in your side all the time, think about that. All the little nicks and knacks and ways you did things. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain to somebody out there that those kids they watch them every day and they're around them for hours and hours every day and listen to you at home about this guy or that situation, this situation. I mean, it just absorbs in them and they just become sponges and they're so intelligent about the game.
Jimbo, you mentioned Treon committed here and Dobbins committed there.
Yeah.
How does that work? How do those doors open up after a guy commits? Do they, not specific about those cases, but...
It depends. Some guys say, I may have done it early. I may have done it for the wrong reason. I see what's going on there. And we don't pursue guys after, and I say this, people, they can say all you want. Guy commits somewhere else, I say, okay, I wish you the best of luck. If you have to change your mind, please call us back. If you want us to still recruit you, we will. If you don't, we won't. And some of them say, yeah, please you may give them a call every couple of weeks. And one of them may say, hey, Coach, I'm thinking, okay, and we talk and, and you go about it. I don't believe in trying to bash those guys and do that, but kids are kids. You change your mind.
Hey, Tom D'Angelo, you want to go?
Yes. Hey, Jimbo.
Hey, Tom, how you, buddy?
You can knock on wood now when I ask this question. You're not thinking about that now, but as a historian of this game, at what point do you think something like this, you think about it in just the accomplishment of this program over the last 2 years?
I really don't, Tom, and because you're so engulfed in where you're trying to go. We still haven't gone. We still have other places we want to go, and we want to continue to go. And I've never been a person who sits and dwells or thinks like that. And I guess that was ingrained in me from my father as a young kid, or my mom, that you have to keep. You did that, move on. What are you going to do next? And that's the way the world works. What have you done for me lately? And when you retire or something like that, you may look back and look at that. A lot of years down the road. But right now, you're just trying to be successful and fight and scratch and claw for everything you get.
But for any program to sustain that kind of success, not a lot have. I mean, there's just so many things that go into that
there are.
Can imagine.
There are. I mean, it becomes a culture, becomes a way of life, becomes a belief, becomes a certain confidence, but it becomes who you are and how you do things. And that's, as a coach, that's what you want. And your kids to truly believe in the organization that you've built and the foundation of the things in which you do. And we've been very fortunate to have a tremendous amount of great coaches here, tremendous amount of great players, even administrators and helpers, and this, all the supports. People don't understand. Like they used to say, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, think about what it does to have 120 of them this long. I mean, all the facets of everyone who touches them and act. defensively. I know Clemson's number one. I mean, all those teams. We play some extremely highly ranked defensive football teams.
Well, on that last drive, when do you gear it down and try to win at the last second as opposed to maybe scoring with 2 minutes left? Are you thinking like...
Oh, no doubt. I want to take the game in the clock. You want to take the game in the clock.
Do you
Yeah.
study that? Like,
Oh, yeah, I mean, well, you do, and then you got to know your own team. You got to manage the clock. Depending on how many timeouts you got, how many timeouts they got, where your field goal kicker's comfortable range is, not only by his range, which ours is as big as anybody's, but then you talk about taking weather conditions, wind, all those types of things. You know, like I said, I felt very comfortable once we hit the 25. You know what I'm saying? Because the 40 had been a 42-yarder. But then with 2 timeouts and making them try to use those timeouts and us manage it and get it down to where they don't touch it again. You know what I'm saying? And those things, that's all calculated. You got to be processing that all the time that's going on.
that all you? You have coaches in your headset?
Oh, we do. I mean, I'll ask and just double check things. But I mean, you got to, because you're making those split decisions. But at the same time, having Randy there and guys have been experienced up top, double checking, hey, how many timeouts? What's this? I want to run it to here. Just, hey, I'm going to do this, right? Just confirm, hey, I'm doing this, this, and this. You guys good with that, right? You know what I'm saying? We all rally and communicate like that. But as the guy doing it, not saying I do it all myself, but you got to be able to process it and make that call quickly. But we got some great guys in our ear helping us.
How do you weigh all that risk? You know, with, like you said, the weather. You know, obviously there's always a chance of field goals, miss a bad snap, and then even not kicking it on 3rd down versus 4th down.
That's what makes the world go round. You got to. You get a lot of, and then a lot of it's your gut and what you really feel. I mean, you got facts about how you got to do things, and then knowing the people involved in that situation. And again, what you're asking me right now is why sports is sports. Because everybody can sit here and debate the right way to do it, the wrong way to do it. There could have been 15 different ways to do it. But what is your thought process, and what do you, and what people don't understand is what you know about your own players, which to me is still the most vital thing. Because at the end of the day, all those right decisions, all the scenarios, all that, but at the end of the day, you got to make sure you're asking the people who you have on your team do what they're truly capable of. And I think that's what makes sports so argumentative, opinionated, all of the scenarios, because of how you can handle those situations. That's why it's such a hot topic and why we got 7,000 talk shows and 800 zillion experts, you know, in what we do. I mean, I say that jokingly, but it is. I mean, it creates, I mean, you can talk about it over, and you can talk about it for 3 days. That's 3 days of radio work.
I don't know if it was in the moment or even after that game, but what happened in the Clemson game when they're trying to run out the clock and set up a field goal and they fumbled? Did that ever really, you know, become something that you thought about?
No, you think of positive things. You think who you hand it to, what the situation is, or how you're handing it to them. You know what I'm saying? But at that time, or, you know, the last time we could have centered it without handing it, you know, but we have worked on that. We have a way to do that, but just felt more comfortable. We had done this more often. Thought the percentage would be just as good, and we'd still get the ball centered.
Did you see James bobble the snap?
Mm-hmm. On a snap, mm-hmm. Could have, if we'd snapped it on 3rd down, he could have did it on 3rd down on a field goal and went through their hands. I mean, you know, inches are sports.
Why have you guys been able to run the ball so effectively in situations like you're trying to run off the clock? It seems like that's when you're at your best, maybe running the football.
I think they understand that's what it takes to be successful, and you don't want that team to get it back and to win. I know that sounds crazy, because sometimes, you know, when you get things done, because you got to get things done. It's about that simple sometimes. Sometimes people have the ability to, I got to get it done, I do it. That's just, and everybody says, why don't you do it all the time? Well, it doesn't work that way. I wish it did. If it did, I could go home at 6 o'clock every evening.
I know you live in the moment and you're not reflecting yet, but when James was named the starting quarterback, did you think these heights could be reached where he hasn't lost the game and you're in the contention for?
No, I think that all the time, no matter who the quarterback is. I really do. I don't say that in any slight to Jameis. I mean, I think whoever we put, I mean, that's our goal and what we think all the time. I mean, that's now to say we're doing it. I mean, that's your goal. I mean, I'm realistic to say, but sometimes they are, sometimes they ain't. But we're going to do everything we can to continue to do that. And I don't think we're going to fail, but I don't think that I'm not arrogant enough to think that that's what's going to happen. I just want to be the best we can be. You name it. I'm gonna tell you. You talk about a guy that loves to play. You can watch him. Just his energy level. Then he's athletic. He's physical. He can stand up. He can get down. He can play linebacker. He can play DN. He can go play nose. Can rush the passer like crazy. He can run in space and tackle. He can bend. I mean, remember we had that one come in. He was a heck of a player too. I mean, that guy's a heck of a football player now. And you see a guy that loves to play on the field. We'll have to definitely know where he's at.
Good challenge for Rod.
No, great challenge. He's a great challenge for anybody.
Do you expect anything different? I think you said that he's going to leave and enter the draft. Would you expect?
Who is that?
Fowler.
Oh, is that right? Is he a junior or senior? Yeah, he is.
I mean, would you expect any type of different play considering he's
No,
already
I mean,
got his eyes for the NFL?
I don't know how he can play any better, but I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll come in here ready to play. I mean to say a guy. I mean, if you could turn it on, turn it off that way, it'd be a fun game. But I mean, I see that guy playing that way all the time. That's the way to me he plays all the time.
How big was Matthew Thomas penalty? Not just the penalty.
It was. It got that drive going. You know, and I'm going to ask. That was. I thought when I saw, but at the end, when you see him, his head from the end zone copy, you can't see on TV. On the end zone, he turns his head, and his shoulder hits his shoulder first. I mean, I don't think it was ill intent, like he said, to do it, but that call was made. I mean, I understand where it was made. I'm not questioning the call, but I sent him just to question. You know, I'm asked their scenario on it. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't like he was trying to hurt somebody when he did it. And from the end zone copy, you can really see his head turns, and his shoulder hits his shoulder first, and then the side of his head hits the guy, which in another appearance, it looks like the front of it does. I can see it from our end zone copy, but it was big because it gives them yardage down there to keep moving the ball.
He seemed like he was playing really well. They kind of
Oh, he's playing extremely well. He was playing as well as any linebacker we had. Now, I'm telling you, I mean, he was pulling this pin coming downhill, hitting guys, and he's just really emerging into himself right now, and it's a shame. But we got a lot of ball left.
you have him out for the first half.
Yeah, should be out for the first half.
Jimbo, is the ref supposed to be standing over the ball in this situation?
Here's a new rule. See, we're one of the few leagues that went to 8 officials. Okay? And this has never happened to our quarterbacks. Saying his back's to the play. And we run a hurry-up play. Well, Carlos had gotten hurt and limped off. And we swapped tailback. But they went ahead and were already substituted. But James, when we did the hurry-up play, well, it used to stand over the center. Okay? But that's when you have 7 officials. And then that guy blows it and tries to run back. Or gets back and blows it. Well, this 8th, which we're one of the that's the Big 12, I believe, use it. Well, they stand there, and it never happened. And he did. If you watch, he did. But when he turned, he's trying to. It's like a quick tempo play. He's trying to. Well, he never had a guy do that before. He's never had an official be there before. It's always standing over the ball. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. And you happen in the middle of a game, you turn around, and he's trying to step around to get in front. He didn't. I mean, you know what I mean? He didn't push. You can see him. He's trying to get his shoulder in and get in there and get the ball. It had never happened to us before. In that scenario, and part of it is like Doug has said, and he meant no ill will, and I'm glad. I thought the official did a tremendous job, and I'm not saying it because it's James. He wasn't trying to push, he wasn't yelling, it wasn't, you know, and they say contact, but there is incidental contact, and when you have a new rule to where an 8th official is in a place that you've never had that happen as a player, and your back's to it, and you turn around trying to get in it, it's very explainable what happened. And then if they handled it right, and we were able to run the play, and that's what happens. So we have an 8th official in our league. Those 2 guys standing back there now.
Do you appreciate the Doug Rose camp?
I really do. I really appreciate Doug doing that, and I thought it was very noble. But it's the truth. See, that's the thing that we all want a controversy, and I think part of it too is because who he is and what goes on. Everything he does is a lightning rod. But there was no ill will, no ill malice, and I appreciate Doug doing it. I really did in our conference. They do a great job.
There was never any concern that the ACC would take any type of.
No. I didn't, at the time, it's crazy. I didn't even think anything about it because we're in the middle of the game. You know what I mean? 'Cause, I mean, it wasn't like they're in a push and stand there in a push and shoving match. You know what I'm saying? Good?
Oh,
That y'all wearing me out.
one last thing, Jimbo.
You always say that.
With this, with the rivalry, you know, with Florida State, does that ever get translated to recruiting as well, where sometimes it can get a little ugly on the recruiting show?
Oh, it does. I mean, when guys get into it, I don't believe in negative recruiting. If anybody on our staff does it, we get rid. We don't ever do that. But recruiting, I'm not saying with them. Recruiting is recruiting. People say and do things that sometimes they wish you probably didn't do when it's over with.